Here's the Collagraph plate of a Mary Queen of Scots that I made. I printed it and I'm not quite sure about the face, so there's only one thing for it. I'm going to remove it. That's the good thing about collagraphs. You can always rework them. So I've created a template and now I'm going to use this to cut out a piece of card for me to work on to make the collagraph face. Okay, so now I'm going to find this face I like of Mary Queen of Scots off the internet. I'm going to try and get this idea of a face onto this template. In terms of the method I'm going to use to construct the face, I'm going to do the same method as I did this one, Beth of Hardwick and the Catherine Parr face. This is what it turned out like. I drew over the main lines quite hard to get a line in the plate. I get a ridge, so if you can feel that, and I can feel there's a ridge there. So what I'm going to do now is go around and cut out the areas that are going to be the darkest on here. I'm sticking this down onto card with Pritt Stick. So now I'm going to use waterproof wood glue to paint in thickly the areas on the plate which I want to be white. So now I'm going to use my other brushes to paint on the glue on the plate and giving some form to the face. I'm going to use different brushes to make different brush marks and textures in the glue that will pick up ink later on. So now I'm going to add some acrylic golden gel medium with pumice in it. The idea of the gel medium having pumice in is that it creates a texture in the surface of the plate that will hold the ink and create areas of tone. When you've prepared your collagraph plate, it's a good idea to take a rubbing off it just to give you a bit of an idea what's there and where the negatives and positives are. When you've done your rubbing, you've got to remember that it's back to front. So a good idea is to turn the image round and put it in front of a light bulb and you'll see it the right way round. I'm just doing a few test prints of the printing the face on its own, and then I'm going to cut it out and place it on top of one of the original prints just to see if it's going to look okay if I stick it down onto the plate now. So I have made my plate, my new face plate. Now I have to stick it into this position and blend it in, so when I actually make the print it doesn't look like it's an obvious stuck on face. I'm going to have to work some textures over this edge. What might be a good idea to start with, because this is a definite edge, I mean her face obviously does protrude from your neck, so it doesn't matter if it stands out a bit, but just on some of these areas it might be worth just using a paring tool to get this edge off. these are the tools I'm going to be using. I'm just going to basically, just around the edge, go like this, so you get that sharp edge, thinner, so when you're sticking it down, it doesn't look so awkward. It blends in a little bit to the background. So we're getting rid of that. That's a sharp edge, whereas that just smooths, glides off. Okay. So now I'm going to get my wood glue and paint a nice even layer all over the area where I'm going to stick the new face. This is waterproof wood glue, fast drying waterproof wood glue. I've tried lots of different ones. To be honest, they're all similar. I did used to use Evo Stick one, but that's a bit more expensive. The thing with using waterproof wood glue compared to PVA is that PVA, if you're ever going to be soaking the paper like I am to print my Collagraph, PVA, if you have a lot of pressure on, which I do have on because I've got the deeper marks in this plate that I want to get the ink out of, the paper often sticks to the plate if you're using PVA. If you're using waterproof wood glue like this, I've found that it doesn't stick to the plate. It might occasionally when you do your first proof, and that's probably because you've got the pressure too much. But I've done all my prints using this waterproof wood glue and they have not stuck to the plate. So the face is stuck down well now, really well. So now I've got to try and make this plate blend in. So look at what I used before to build up this texture. Right, so it looks as if I've used some of this stuff called micaceous iron oxide. And basically, if you paint this on, it almost gives the texture of a fine sandpaper. It's got a little bit of texture to it, so it picks up a bit of tone. So I've used that, and I've used that on these darker areas. It's a bit like carborundum, using carborundum. Also, to get some of these textures, I've used another golden medium. This is extra heavy semi-gel, semi-gloss. And what this does is you paint it on and it keeps your brush marks. So you can get some nice textures of brush marks, a bit like hair, I suppose. And the other thing, of course, I'm going to be using is my wood glue, dribbling that on. That's what I've painted on here. And a little bit of fine carborundum, possibly sprinkled into some of the areas as well. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do to try and get rid of this edge and make it blend in is probably use this extra heavy gel semi-gloss. So I'm thinking I might paint this on. See, it's quite gungy. I'll paint this on up to the edge like that, so it's filling in that gap. I just wanted to show you a bit closer up where I've painted on this semi-gloss medium to fill in that gap between the higher layer of the card and the lower layer. Blending up to it, the face. So so I get no gap, I keep blending. So I'm pushing that up to the edge. I can get rid of that edge. And also this gel medium will hold the brush strokes. So I'm when I'm doing the brush strokes, I'm very aware of the marks that I'm making in this. I'm not just using it just to fill in this line, I'm using it to create marks and tones. So the gel mediums started to dry. Now I still want to create some pieces of paper or card to go over this line. When I originally made this plate, I did a rubbing of it, took a rubbing of it, just to give me an idea of how it might print. And I drew on some curls, partly because I like doing curls and swirls, and I'd like to get some of these marks over this edge to try and kind of soften it. So now I've got my curls and I'm going to stick them on using some Pritt stick, making sure I lay them over this line, this edge of the Collagraph plate that I've just stuck on. So I've got my wood glue now and I'm just trailing it onto the surface of the plate, making little ridges of curl shapes over that edge of the plate that I've stuck on. When I've finished painting on the glue, I've sprinkled on some fine carborundum grit over some of the areas of wet glue. This means they'll create a texture which will hold the ink and create a tone in the final print. Now I've completed the process of reworking the Collagraph plate and changed Mary Queen of Scots' face. The next thing will be to let it all dry thoroughly and then take it to the print studio and do some test prints to see how it works. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to find out more about printmaking processes, what they involve, and maybe have a go yourself, please sign up to my newsletter on my new website, www.sarahgodfreyart.com, or you can scan the QR code just above, or follow me on Instagram to keep up to date with new work as I make it and the processes I use to create it.